Okay, so today I'm going to do just a super quick review of how to measure accurately with a ruler. This is a skill that we learned a long time ago in elementary school, maybe second, third grade, but a lot of times students tend to forget what all of the little measurements and markings represent. So I'm just going to do a really quick review of what those things mean. So to see, you're going to have a strip of paper, and for us the width of this strip of paper is going to represent 1 full inch. So to take a whole inch, we're going to have several different lines within it. If you take that and fold it in half and create a little crease mark, when we open this back up, our section is now split into 2 even parts. So if we view this end on the left as our 0, this new line here in the middle is going to be 1 of 2 full parts, or our 1/2 of an inch. So if you will, draw a nice long line, and we're going to label this our 1/2 inch measurement. So if you're looking at that on a ruler, from your 0 to the full inch, this longest line here in the middle is going to represent our 1/2 inch. Now, if you'll take this piece of paper and fold it in half again, there it is in half, and then I'm going to divide that in half one more time and give it a nice little crease. When I open that up, you're going to see that we now have 4 parts. Our inch is now broken up into 4 sections. So the very first one from the left side, I'm going to draw now a line a little bit shorter than my half, and this is going to represent the 1/4 line. The second fold line, which is also the 1/2 line, this would technically be our 2/4, but you always want to make those numbers the smallest, so 2/4 simplifies down to 1/2. And then the third section, we'll draw another line, and that will be our 3/4, meaning it is a total from our 0, 1, 2, 3 of 4 total parts within an inch. So if you look at that on a ruler, those little sections are going to look like, here's our 0, this will be 1/4, 2/4 or 1/2, 3/4, and a whole inch or 4/4. Now, we're going to see what the even smaller marks look like, so I'm going to fold it in half once, fold it in half twice, and I'm going to fold it in half a third time. Increase those edges. When you open it back up, that's going to double the number of sections that we have. And if you count them, we'll now have a total of 8 sections. So the next lines that we're going to draw are going to be our 1/8 of an inch. So with each section, our increments are going to get smaller, so our little lines are going to get shorter. So we're going to count this first one as our 1/8. The second one would be our 2/8, but we always simplify it down to 1/4. The third one, 3/8. The fourth one would be 4/8, or simplified to 1/2. 5/8. 6/8 simplifies to 3/4, and 7/8 down here on the end. And when you get all the way to the full inch, that would be 8/8, or all the parts. So when you look at that now on a ruler, you're going to see that now, and I can draw this out, our 0 starts here, and it's basically every other little line. That would be 1/8, 2/8, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8/8 would make a whole inch. So that inch is now divided into 8 little parts, and you can count them out. So we're going to do one more trick. We're going to fold it in half once, twice, 3 times, and for the very last time, we're going to give ourselves our very last little section of creases. And when we open this ruler back up, we now have our smallest little divisions. So with an even shorter little line, we're going to end up with what are called our 1/16. So this first one will be 1/16. The second one is 1/8, or 2/16. 3/16, 4/16, or 1/4. 5/16, 7/16, or 3/8. 6 sixteenths, 7 sixteenths, 8 sixteenths or 1/2, 9 sixteenths, 10 sixteenths or 5/8, 11 sixteenths, 12 sixteenths or 3/4, 13 sixteenths, 14 sixteenths or 7/8, and 15 sixteenths. And then if you go all the way, that would be 16 sixteenths, or we would call that a whole inch. So now those are going to be the shortest little measurements that you see on a ruler will be your sixteenths. So if you look at that on a ruler, those are going to be every single little line. So most rulers will start right here on the first long line, and every single one sixteenths, and you can see that it's now twice as many marks as the 1/8 of an inch. So that's just a little review of kind of how to get what those measurements represent on a ruler. So if you will, create your own little diagram just as a quick review. And one of the skills that I need you to be able to use is to use a ruler and be able to measure accurately down to a 1/16 of an inch. So this is just an everyday practical life skill that everybody needs. Even if you're not going to go on and do any more artwork, it's just a really important skill to have. So one example would be if I want to draw a line that is 5 inches long, I would start with a tick mark at my 0, draw a line to the long line at my 5, and end with a tick mark there. So that would be an example of a line that is 5 inches. If I want a line that uses 1/2 inches, let's say I want to draw 3.5 inches long. For that, I would start at my 0, and you can count it out. A trick that helps some students is if you put a tick mark along the way. So that's 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, and then find your long half mark, and that would make that 3.5. Sometimes it helps to see along the way as you divide it out. If I want to draw even smaller sections and I want to look at fourths, let's say I want to draw a line that is 2 3/4 of an inches long. Same thing. Start with a tick mark at your 0. There would be 1 inch, 2 inches, and then my fourths. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4 would be the end of that line. Now you don't necessarily have to put the tick marks in the middle. I really just need a beginning and an end. But if that helps you to see that you've gotten the full measurement, 2 3/4, sometimes that can be a really good visual reminder of what it is you're measuring. Now if I want to look at images, lines that are down to using 8ths, let's say I want to draw a line that is 1 5/8. We can do that as well. So starting at my 0, there's my 1, and then with 8ths they're going to be the second shortest little lines every other one. So there's 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4, and 5/8. So that would be a total of 1 inch and 5/8. And last but not least, with 16ths, let's say I want to draw a line that is 3 7/16 of an inch. Start at my 0 and go up 1, 2, 3, and then the 7/16 will be every single little line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 7/16 there, and that would be a correct measurement. Another really important trick when using a ruler, you want to make sure you get really accurate measurements. A trick that I do all the time is make sure that you have your head and your eyes aligned over the part of the ruler that you are actually measuring. So when I'm marking my 0, my head and eyes are right above this part, and when I'm marking on up the ruler, my head and eyes shift with my measurement to be right above it. That's going to ensure that you are right, perfectly vertically aligned with those tick marks to help make sure that your measurements are as accurate as possible. So that is your super quick review on how to measure accurately with a ruler.